Session for the Digital Navigator Cohort Grant. My name is Marisol Tapia Hopper, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm a project manager at the WDC, where I oversee multiple workforce programs, including our digital equity work. And now I will ask my colleague Shalane Aldridge to introduce herself.
Thank you, Marisol. So I'm Shalane Aldridge, and I work here at the WDC as well as a project manager. I oversee our work source system, and I also work on immigrant and refugee strategies with Marisol, and am assisting in this digital navigator grant and process.
Thank you. And this is our agenda for today's presentation. We will start by reviewing general meeting housekeeping items, then provide a background and purpose of this grant, review eligibility, budget, and allowable use of funds, grant details, and then open it up for questions and answers. So for housekeeping items, so we're recording this session, and the recording will be uploaded to the WDC website. All participants' mics are muted. To ask questions, we either ask you that you click on the chat button and type your question there, or to speak at the end of the presentation, you can raise your hand to ask your questions. Questions can also be emailed to my email address that shows right there on the screen. All answers to the questions will be uploaded on the WDC website by October 20th. Shalane will be monitoring the chat and will be collecting questions throughout today's session. We will try to provide answers to all of your questions, but if we don't get to all of them, we will provide a written answer and post it as part of the Q&A on the RFQ page on our website. We will also put the link on the chat to the RFQ so that you all know where to find it. And like we said, ongoing questions can also be submitted via email to myself, Marisol Tapia Hopper, at mthappyhopper@seekingwdc.org. The last day to submit any questions is 11:59 p.m. on October 19th, 2022. So a little bit of background and the purpose of this grant. So the WDC is part of a consortium between the Seattle-King County Information Technology and the City of Seattle Information Technology Department. We were awarded funding from the Department of Commerce to provide regionally coordinated digital navigation services for residents in Seattle and Greater King County. This shared regional approach really seeks to increase scale and investment in our region, while also amplifying access to affordable internet, skills training, digital navigation services, but also access to devices. And here's a timeline for this grant. We released the RFQ last week. We have the Q&A period session open. That closes on October 19, and right now we are at October 17 with the community informational session. We hope to post the answers to all of your questions by October 20th. Proposals are due October 25th, and we expect to announce successful proposals November 8th, and we expect to begin this work on December 1st. A tentative timeline for contracts includes, that December 1st start date and going all the way through January 30th of 2023. So who is eligible to apply? Any 501c3 organization or physical sponsor 501c3 organization based in King County. Also an organization that is licensed to do business in Washington State and in Seattle-King County, and have at least 1 year of experience providing digital navigator services or similar services provided to community members. So funding and budget, $500,000 has been made available for funding. Grants will range between $50,000 and $75,000 per organizations. Organizations can also request less than 50,000 if that's too much, but the maximum is 75,000. Grantees will be awarded through a cost reimbursement model. If that's also a barrier for some of the smaller organizations, there is a question in the application for organizations to let us know. We are mindful of that, and we also want to be flexible with that model. What's allowable when it comes to using these funds? Anything that has to do with admin costs and other direct costs. So staffing, personnel involved in the project, including those providing digital navigator services, staff that is providing digital skills training, while also staff that is providing outreach. So anything that is admin and direct cost is fundable. Translation, if your program needs to translate materials for outreach or curricula, but also training associated with the purchase of equipment, software, storage devices, anything that your organization will need to provide training is also reimbursable. What's not reimbursable is the purchase of devices to be provided to community members. And the reason why is because the WDC will be purchasing and has partnered with Interconnection to provide access to devices. So organizations will be able to be part of the cohort model where 500 laptops and 250 hotspots with 1 year of unlimited internet will be available to community members that need access to devices. And this grant has 4 core elements that we're asking organizations to provide. So that includes digital navigator services, digital skills training, affordable connectivity program outreach, and device distribution. So when it comes to digital navigator services, those are services that provide ongoing assistance with internet access, device acquisition, technical skills, and application support. In addition to that, this other element, digital skills training, has to do with the process to teach essential computer skills and the use of technology in daily life. It could be anything from a half-hour session on how to create and use your email to a more sophisticated and ongoing process to teach digital skills. Affordable connectivity program outreach is includes assisting community members learn and apply for the affordable connectivity program. So getting the word out about this program, but also helping community members apply and submit that application. And device distribution is working to assist community members access this pool of laptops that have been made available as part of this cohort, and also the hotspots in partnership with Interconnection. And here's a sample that we have included in the proposal. It also includes a link to the Boston Consulting Group report. And this is an example of one-on-one session with a digital navigator. So this is what a session could look like. So it gives organizations an idea of what digital navigator services might look like depending on what you're doing or what you might intend to do as part of your project. It could be anything from helping someone set up their new device to how to create an email or how to maybe practice for Zoom or do a follow-up plan. It could also be helping people navigate how to access maybe a website online or how to access an application to a specific program like food stamps, for example. And then here's an example of what a digital skills class could look like. It looks very similar in the sense that you can have that flexibility to teach digital skills depending on what the populations you're working with and what their needs are. So that could be anything from group exercises to self-paced learning, to computer and email login, to tech setup. So for example, helping students learn how to use their new computers, how to plug it in, how to turn it on and off, how to troubleshoot issues as it relates to technology. And it could also be, cohort style training where you have a group of people coming in to learn maybe the basics of computers, but it could also be that one-on-one training with a digital navigator or instructor. Selection criteria. So we have 110 points for the application. Proposed program model has the highest points, and that's 30 points. As you will see on the RFQ, we don't have that many questions, so the questions are broken down by program model, experience providing services to the community, especially, organizations are being asked to select what populations they seek to serve, and that's 25 points. There is a question about tracking services and ability to report outcomes, that's 20 points. Total number of people to be served and services provided, that's 20 points. And then the project budget is 15 points. Proposals must be received no later than 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on October 25th, 2022, and that's next week. And how to apply? Proposals for this grant will be accepted through Cognito Forms, and then a link will be shared with you in the chat, but this is also on our website, and this is the link to the application. And again, proposals are due October 25th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And with that, I think now we will open it up for questions and answers. And it looks like we might have maybe a few people waiting in the lobby.
Thanks, Marcel. I've been letting people in, so just let someone new in. There's a question in the chat that says, is there an age range for receiving services? And then there's an additional comment tag teaming on that says they have 25 plus years of teaching digital skills to kids and teens, but we're just starting our adult program now. Are we eligible even though we don't have 1+ years teaching adults?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, we don't have a specific criteria for how many years an organization needs to have, except that they have at least 1 year of experience providing similar services.
Okay, and then we have Esther who has a question as well. Her hand is raised.
Oh, hi. I already put it in chat, but I think I mentioned earlier before the session, we received a couple of digital equity grants to Kent County already. Are we still eligible?
Yes, you're still eligible. Organizations that have applied and have received funding from either King County or the City of Seattle are still eligible for
We're
funding
still
under this
eligible?
grant. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's another question here. I see that both admin and direct costs are allowable. Is there certain distribution for staff versus direct costs that you would like us to consider regarding funding structure of this grant?
No, we really want organizations to tell us what works best for them and their model. So really, when the budget section is for you, for organizations to tell us, how the project will be delivered and how that budget aligns with that. But we don't have a specific criteria when it comes to, making sure that X number goes into this bucket and X number goes here. It's really organizations telling us, their project model and also how that budget aligns with that.
And then Marisol, it looks like someone in the chat said they weren't sure they got an answer on the age range.
Yes, we don't have an age range. Do you have any other feedback with that, Sheila?
I would just say that overall, we're trying to address digital equity needs across the county. And so that's both kids and adults. And also with the whole family approach, we really want to make sure that adults are connected to the resources that their kids need and also job resources and anything else. So there's not an age limitation there. Um, yeah. Okay, and it looks like there's a question from Central Area Collaborative. Why is teaching a requirement? We are proposing to work with Microsoft employees who are project managers with some of our software our demographic is looking to learn. We have Microsoft employee volunteers looking to give back.
Maybe I didn't understand the question there. Why is digital skills training
No.
a component?
No, it says, why is teaching a requirement?
Maybe that person maybe can explain.
Yeah, I would like to invite that person to just explain a little bit more so we can understand the question better, if you can come off of mute.
Can you guys hear me? This is Dennis.
Yes, we can. Thank you,
Okay.
Dennis.
So earlier I heard him talking about teaching experience, having 1 year teaching experience. And in our proposal, we've got Microsoft employees who may not necessarily be teachers, but they actually teach, or are program managers. So I just want to make sure
Mm.
I'm getting that right on that 1 year experience providing digital navigator services. A Microsoft employee might not necessarily meet whatever that is, but if they're the ones that are teaching and are building the software that our demographic is asking for, I just want to make sure I'm good to do that.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, we can clarify that. So when we're asking for 1 year of experience, we're looking for the organization to have at least 1 year of experience providing some kind of digital navigator services. It could be helping users understand how to turn on computers and their devices. We're just looking for some level of experience because it's a pretty quick turnaround time in terms of the grant award and implementing services. Does that help to answer your question a bit more?
It well, it does for what you're looking for, but not as a community service provider. I mean, I have a navigator, community navigator, who helps various organizations, small business, and people in all sorts of techniques, from folks on the small business side trying to figure out which point of sale service to use, or what's a pro and a con. So does that count? And we've been doing this for like 6 years, but not specifically going to individuals, because there's plenty of other providers that do that teaching. So I'm just trying to make sure we're good for applying for the grant.
Yeah. Marisol, maybe if you can flip to the slide that talks about what digital navigator services could look like, the graphic. Yeah, there's that slide and then the following slide showing from the Boston Consulting Group as well.
Did you see it?
Yes, I do. Yep. So what I would say is if any of your services align with these things here or the prior slide, that is what the grant requirements would be for this
Okay.
funding.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And many times organizations might not call their services digital navigator services, but you could still be providing these services, right? Maybe it is through a one-on-one setting through a case manager, with a participant, but you're still doing some of these. You might just call it something else.
Okay, it looks like Lauren had a question in chat. Are seniors included? Yes, seniors would be included. They are part of the demographic, and and if they have the digital need, the need for digital skills, they are included as there are not limitations there. And then Sarah Wilkes in the chat also said this is open for locations in all of King County, and that is correct. Okay, it looks like A. Allen has their hand up as well. If you could come off of chat or come off of mute.
Oh, yeah, thanks. This is Ann Allen. I think you've answered my question, but yeah, I mean, we work with families in transitional housing, and yeah, just like you said, we don't, I guess, don't call it digital navigator services, but we've been giving out Chromebooks and laptops and showing families how to, work with them, and also getting them hooked up with internet and that sort of thing. Does that sort of thing count? I don't think it's a specific, yeah, we wouldn't call it digital navigator, but that certainly is a piece of our case manager's work. Is that something that would work?
It does. And
Okay.
yes, because we are specifically stating here that is either you have experience providing digital navigator services or similar services.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like we have Ibtisam.
Yeah, it's Ibtisam.
Ibtisam, thank you so
yes.
much for that.
So I think I got all the answers. It's just I don't have access to the chat. That's why I raised my hand. Like if you send the link, I don't see any chat. Am I the only one, or everyone doesn't see it?
I can see it. Is there anyone else on here that cannot see the screen? And you're talking about being able to see the
chat.
graphics?
No, I see the screen. It's just I don't see the chat, or if I want to like put a question on the chat, I
Oh,
don't
the
have this
chat.
option.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the chat. Yeah, I don't have that option. So I'm just concerned about, because you said that you're gonna send the link on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any access to the chat.
Okay. It could be some settings with Teams, either with your organization or with ours, but I do see that other people are putting it into the chat. But I will be happy to provide the link to where to find our RFP, and we'll email this out as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for anyone on the call today? If everybody could do me a favor and put your name, your full name and organization in the chat, then that is where I will be able to make sure that I email things out specifically to all of you on the call, just in case you were forwarded our list and you did not get the invite directly.
Hi. So again, I don't have any access to the chat, so I cannot put my name, but I can tell you it's Mother Africa organization.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm going to share my screen here really quick and show you where to find this
Okay.
RFQ on our website.
All right.
So it's right here. If you go to the Workforce Development Council, so seekingwdc.org, and then we go to investments, and then we go funding opportunities. And then it's right here, request for qualifications. Then we click on it, and then it will take you directly to the request for qualifications, and it will open up the form, which looks like this. This is the RFQ. It has background information, program description. It has the pictures that I just shared, eligible applicants, funding available, point of contact. You can also email me directly too. That's my email address as well if other questions come up. And here we have the sample grant reporting form as a reference, but also the grant budget template, the timeline. And here we have the proposal. So the questions, there's the question here that talks about describing your program model, and then some of these other questions that we have, that including the populations to be served. There's also a section here for you to tell us if none of the populations that you intend to serve are listed here, for you to tell us what populations you intend to work with. And then here we have the proposal questions. We have, it's about 4 different questions that are here for you to share with us, just your experience and how you intend to deliver the services. There's a section here for the number of individuals you intend to serve. Here's a question about tracking mechanisms, and here's a question around describing your timeline to meet the project deliverables and implementation plan to spend the funds by June 30th of 2023. And then anything else that you may want to share, we have a space here as well. And then a section here for organizations to upload their budget. We try to keep it simple, short, and because we have to spend the funds by June 30th, we have a quick turnaround. And like I said, we intend to notify organizations by November 8th.
And Marisol, you probably already answered this question, but Lauren had asked if the application was short, or is there a lot of detail concerning the short time frame? And just to reiterate, we really tried to make this a consolidated process that wouldn't be a burden to apply, but give us also enough information to make some decisions on the grant awards and the evaluation process.
Yes, correct, Shalane. We did try to make this simplified as possible. Really, the main questions are right here, and we have 4 main questions, really asking organizations to tell us about their experience providing services to the populations they identify in the application. Then we ask for a proposed program model, and then for you to tell us the number of people you intend to serve for each of these sections here. And then we have some basic multiple choice election process here, and then a question around tracking mechanism, and then a final question here to describe the project timeline and implementation plan. And there is some yes or no questions, and some of them do ask for you to provide more details, but really those are short answers. We don't see them as really extensive narratives. And then there is some short yes or no answers here. Like, for example, this is a question about asking organizations whether they will be able to spend $50,000 to $75,000 in 6 to 7 months. If the answer is no, asking organizations to tell us what budget amount will work better. Maybe it's 40,000, maybe it's 25,000. So these are intended to be short answers.
There's a question here. Can this grant support existing programs?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is to support existing programs, but also anything that is emerging as well. This funding has to be spent quickly, so we are looking for programs that perhaps are already going, maybe things that organizations could tell us that they're ready to go. This funding will become available very soon. So really looking for a quick starting period and really supporting projects that are already underway. So yes, the answer to that question is yes.
Sorry, I have a question. Can I just ask?
Sure.
Hey, my name is Angela from the Congolese Integration Network. I was just wondering if, let's say we get awarded for this grant and we realize that we needed maybe to expand the budget to meet the deliverables. Is the amount requested flexible to allow organizations to meet their deliverables, or it's a fixed amount?
We do have a fixed amount that is available. So we have $500,000 in funding. And with that, we do see flexibility between this number here. The maximum that organizations can request is 75,000. But let's say you apply and then you submit a budget for 75,000, and then maybe 2 months down the road, you think that maybe you can only spend 60,000. Then we can definitely work with organizations to find ways to reutilize that $15,000 that will be unspent and maybe provide that funding to another organization that could use it.
Oh, that's great. I have a second question, if you don't mind. Um, are those amount restricted, in the sense where if we realized that more money was needed to support another area, can we easily move funding to support that area, or the contract will have to be amended each time a change of funding needs to be made?
It will depend on how we set up the budgets, but it could also be set up in a way that it could allow for that flexibility, as long as I think we're still meeting the core deliverables and being able to still meet the numbers that were proposed in the application. But I think how the funding gets spent, I think there is an opportunity to have those discussions and provide that flexibility on what the billing could look like, uh, depending on how the contract is set up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Marisol, there's another question in the chat. It says, on the hardware side, can this funding be used to help new businesses obtain point of sale programs?
Organizations really have to tell us how their project will deliver these services. So projects have to be able to explain how they're going to provide digital navigator services, digital skills training, assisting individuals learn and apply for the Affordable Connectivity Program, and being part of the digital navigator cohorts and helping to provide laptops and hotspots to community members that have been impacted by the digital divide. So all projects need to be able to tell us how they're going to be able to provide these 4 core elements here.
Well, this is Dennis from the Central Area Collaborative who asked that question. They have to do all 4, or one of the 4 when I'm talking specifically to the point of sale hotspots.
All 4.
All 4.
Correct.
Organizations have to be able to provide all 4 services. If a point of sale hotspot is part of your model, what Marisol is saying is that it would have to be explained in the proposal how it's tied into the services that are to be provided in the grant.
Okay.
And again, budgets, we're asking organizations not to budget for the purchase of devices to be distributed to community members, and that's because the WDC will be purchasing and partnering with Interconnection to provide 500 laptops and 250 hotspots with 1 year of internet connectivity.
And I have a follow-up question on the point of sale devices. Are you talking about Square systems, things to be able to take payments that attach to cell phones or to laptops? Is that what you're referring to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And here's a link to the Boston Consulting Group report in case you're interested in learning more about digital navigator services.
I have a question about the laptops.
Yes.
How many would each awarded organization receive out of the 500?
Anything from 35 to 50. And the way we see this is being part of a cohort, the 7 to 10 organizations that get awarded will have to assist with distributing either 35 or up to 50, depending on if we have 10 organizations. And then the goal is that organizations that partner with external community partners that want to make referrals to your organization to help people get connected to these devices. So we really see this as an opportunity to expand, but also scale the access to these devices by partnering with, the colleges, other CBOs that don't get this funding, but want to get their clients, customers connected to a device. So working directly with your program to get them sign up and connected to a device.
And then there's a question on when the recording and slides will be available. I would say within 24 hours. Marisol, do you have any different timelines on that?
I think yes, by tomorrow is definitely, our timeline. And going back to the question, yeah, here's where we have that description of, how many laptops, devices will need to be distributed by organization. And it will depend how many organizations get funded, but it's anything from 50 to 75 laptop distribution, and then about 25 to 35 hotspots with 12 months of internet per organization. And like I said, we see this as an opportunity to collaborate with other cohorts. We have the Seattle IT Digital Navigator cohort, and then we have other organizations that could also be external partners and helping to refer individuals that have a need for devices to this pilot.
And Carly has a question in the chat. She said, would they need to return the device at the end of 6 to 7 months?
No, the devices are for customers, individuals to keep. The same thing with the hotspot.
Question about this opportunity. Is this opportunity available every year, or what's the frequency?
This is a one-time grant, but we do see a likelihood of this funding continuing after June 30th if additional funding becomes available from the Department of Commerce.
So, thank you.
But the funding does need to be spent by June 30th, and the program ends June 30th, but we do see an opportunity, I think, if additional funding will become available to be able to continue. part of this model too, being part of a cohort, we have built in a lot of professional development and training for the organizations and the digital navigator. So we do intend to provide training for frontline staff that are going to be providing digital navigator services. So there's going to be a lot of support coming in, and there's going to be also a community of practice set up. So we get to collaborate with one another, but also, like I said, build um, a lot of opportunity for that professional development on how to provide digital navigator services, or what that could look like, but also that additional support that organizations might want to have by being part of a cohort and being able to collaborate with external partners and other funding streams like the City of Seattle Digital Navigator cohort, for example.
And Marisol, as organizations are completing this application or in the process, if they come up with some issues or additional questions, what will be the process for them to get
Yeah.
assistance?
So email those questions to me, and this is my email address right here. So mtapiahopper@seekingwdc.org. You can also find my contact information on our website, but that will be the process, is to have that those questions be emailed directly to me. And all of the questions are public, so all of those will be added to the Q&A document that we will be uploading on October 20th. And again, proposals are due October 25th, 2022. Maybe just one last reminder, if people could put their contact information in the chat. I know we have somebody from Mother Africa who was not able to put their contact information there, but that will allow us to also send back to you just the links that not all of you were able to see on the chat. But yeah, if you can all just put your contact information there, that will be great. Any other questions that you may have? Happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Looks like someone is typing something in the chat right now. Nope, just the contact information. All right. Well, with that, Marisol, perhaps we close this information session.
Yeah, if no other questions, yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's community informational session on the Digital Equity Grant. We look forward to receiving your proposals. And again, if other questions come up, you have until October 19th to submit any questions to us. And we will be posting those questions on our website by October 20th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
we can stop the recording and then